Hi everyone, I'm starting a YouTube channel that will focus on tutorials. For my first series of videos, I'll be talking about Photoshop. We'll start with the basics and then progress to a more intermediate levels. Alright, so for this particular video, I'll be teaching you how to create a new file. Because you cannot really do anything in Photoshop if you don't know how to create a new file. Alright, so there are two ways to create a new file in Photoshop. First way is by using the keyboard shortcut Control N, and it will open the new dialog box. Okay. And then the second way is by going to the file menu and selecting new. Likewise, this will also open the new dialog box. Okay. So this is the new dialog box. As you can see, here we can rename the file. You can also choose a default size paper. However, I don't normally rename nor change the preset because whether I change them or not, they do not contribute anything significant to the creation of a new file. I only change the preset if, say, I want a readily available paper size such as A4, letter, legal, etc. But then again, as I said, I don't change them anymore. I only rename my file upon saving it. What I normally do is I go straight to this part. Okay, so here we can set the width, the height, the resolution, and the color mode. Whenever we create a new file in Photoshop, the first thing that we need to do is to identify the type of file we're making. Okay, so are we making a welcome banner or a Facebook cover photo or a business card? Okay, and once we've identified that, the next thing we need to identify is its dimension or size. How big do we want our project to be? Okay, and after that, we can then set its width and its height. Alright, so assuming for this video, we want to create a welcome banner that is 3 feet wide and 2 feet high. Okay, so as you can see here, these are the units of measurement available in Photoshop. Here we have pixels, inches, centimeters, millimeters, points, picas, and columns. Okay, and we mentioned that we want our file to be 3 feet wide and 2 feet high, but there is no feet available. So what we need to do is to convert it to inches. Okay, so how many inches are in 3 feet? 36. And how many inches in 2 feet? 24. And so we are going to set our height to 24 inches. Okay, so whenever we create a new file in Photoshop, we need to set it in its actual size already, because like what we did now, we wanted it to be 3 feet wide and 2 feet high. That's why we set it at 36 inches and 24 inches. Why is that? Why do we need to set it in its actual size? Well, we need to set it in its actual size because that would mean less burden for you and less burden for the people that will print your projects, because you don't have to resize it anymore, right? So if we want to create, so assuming we want to create a letter size certificate, then we need to assign 8.5 by 11 inches, and say we want a 2 by 2 picture, then we need to set it at 2 inches by 2 inches, right? Okay, so whenever we create a new file in Photoshop, we have to remember to set it in its actual size already, okay? Because that would mean less work for you and less work for the people that will print your document. Now, we proceed to resolution. So the general rule in setting the resolution is that if your project is for printing, meaning it is to be printed such as a certificate, a graduation picture, a business card, an invitation, then you have to set the resolution at 300 pixels per inch or 300 ppi. Okay, but if your project is for digital use only, meaning for uploading on the internet, for use in a particular website, or for PowerPoint use, then you have to set the resolution to 72 pixels per inch or 72 ppi or dpi. That's per inch. Okay, so that is the general rule. 300 for printing, 72 for digital use. Okay. However, you can always bend the rules in Photoshop. Let me explain. So a picture is composed of pixels, and the resolution tells us how many pixels there are in a square inch. Okay, so assuming that you have a 2 inches by 3 inches file, meaning the size of a calling card, and all of a sudden you decide to enlarge it to 36 inches by 24 inches. Okay, so the size of a calling card and you stretch it to 36 by 24 inches, what do you think will happen if you have 72 set as your resolution? Of course, it will be pixelated because there is not much information available since your resolution is set to 72 pixels per inch only, right? So the computer doesn't have anywhere else to get the information needed. Okay. However, 72 is a decent value for resolution, and it is okay to set it at 72 just as long as you are sure that you won't need to resize your file anymore. Resize or enlarge. Okay. So it will only be problematic if there's a need to enlarge it. Okay. Now, imagine this. Say again, you have a 2 by 3 inches file, but this time you set the resolution to 800 ppi and you decide to stretch it to 36 inches by 24 inches. What do you think will happen? Do you think it will still be pixelated? Well, not anymore because there are a lot of information available because you set your resolution to 800 pixels per inch, meaning there will be 800 pixels per square inch. And so there is plenty of information that is available for the computer to get the information from. Okay, so having said that, it is very tempting to use high resolution every time, right? However, you have to remember that the higher the resolution you set, the larger your file size will be. Why is that? Okay, so let me give you a simple computation. Alright, so assuming that we have a 2 inches by 2 inches document, okay, and you set your resolution to 70 pixels per inch. So that would mean your document is made up of 280 pixels in total because we multiply 2 and 2 by 70, that equals to 280. Meaning your computer will only need to process 280 pixels. Okay, so but if say the same document 2 inches by 2 inches, but this time with 800 resolution, then you will have 3200 pixels all in all, which your computer will have to process. Okay, so now let's try to magnify that. Assuming that we have 36 inches by 24 inches and 72 is our resolution, then that means a total of 62,208 pixels. Okay, so meaning 62,208 pixels will comprise our picture because 36 times 24 times 72, that's equal to 62,208. Okay, but the same size document that is 36 inches by 24 inches with 800 resolution would mean 691,200 pixels that the computer will have to process. Okay, so imagine that difference, a difference of 628,992 pixels. That is very large. That is why if we have such big dimension files such as 36 by 24 inches, and if the file is already in its actual size, and there is no need to enlarge or stretch it bigger, then let's not be afraid to lower our resolution to 72 pixels per inch to avoid slow or unresponsive computers. Okay, but don't go lower than 72. Okay, just 72 must be your lowest resolution ever. Okay, but also don't be afraid to use 300 ppi just as long as you have a small dimension file such as letter size, A4, A3, etc. Okay, I hope I explained it well. Now, we proceed to the color mode. So these are the color modes available in Photoshop. We have bitmap, grayscale, RGB, CMYK, and black color. So the only color mode you are ever gonna use is RGB and CMYK. You can also use grayscale if you want your file to have only black, white, and gray. But if not, then you will only use either CMYK or RGB. Okay, so how do we set the color mode? Just like the resolution, the color mode is determined by whether or not your document is to be printed. Alright, so if it is to be printed, then you have to set your color mode to CMYK, because this is the color mode that is understood by the printers that we have. Notice their inks. They have CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and key. Okay, but if your file is for digital use only, meaning for uploading on the internet, for PowerPoint use, for using a particular website, then you have to set the color mode to RGB, because it is the color mode that is understood by the screens of our laptops, our desktops, and mobile devices. Okay, however, just as I said for the resolution, you can also bend the rules for the color mode. I personally always use RGB, but when you use RGB, you should expect your printed outputs to be somewhat different from what you see on the screen. Okay, so why is that? That is because RGB has 16 million colors, while CMYK only has 1 million colors. Alright, so if we want to see how big of a difference that is, 60 million for RGB and 1 million for CMYK, then I'll be putting a link in the description to my next video that will demonstrate such difference. You have to watch it to better understand the difference between RGB and CMYK's color gamut. Okay, so now that ends this video. However, I would like to summarize everything we've discussed in this particular video. So what are our key takeaways from this video? So first, when creating a new file in Photoshop, you have to set it in its actual size already. Okay, so that's the first one. Second, we set the resolution to 300 ppi if the file is for printing, and 72 ppi if the file is for digital use only. Okay, but as I've said, let's not be afraid to lower the resolution to 72 ppi if our file has some large dimensions, to avoid slow or unresponsive computers, because the higher the resolution we set, the larger our file size becomes. Okay, and then number 3, we set the color mode to RGB if our project is for digital use only, and CMYK if it is for printing. Okay, and I think number 4, let us not be afraid to bend the rules in Photoshop. And lastly, watch my demonstration video to see why I always use RGB as my color mode, and to see the difference between CMYK and RGB in terms of their color gamut or the number of colors available for them. Okay, so that will be all for this video. I hope you liked it and you learned something from this. Feel free to watch my other videos. Thank you.